Shima, Shazmimi, Zakaria from UiTM. Which UiTM is that? Shah Alam, I suppose. Okay, go. The floor is yours, and you may start. Thank you.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day, everyone. I am Shima Shazmimi Zakaria, postgrad student from Akademi Pengajian Bahasa in UiTM, Shah. So today is a small, simple paper that I have titled Investigating Positive and Negative Keywords in Malaysian Online News Reporting, a case study of Sabah election. All right, a little bit background on the study. So this is the introduction. As we all know, Sabah election was the first state election that was held in this country in the middle of the pandemic. So at that time, Malaysia has just transitioned from the MCO period, and we were at during Sabah election at the RMCO, which was the recovery MCO. So there were a lot of concerns by many parties, especially the public, because having a state election would actually require mass movements from especially from people of Sabah that probably might have migrated or are staying in the peninsula. So Sabah residents had to travel back in order to, go on with their responsibility to vote. And then also they were concerned of SOP violation for SOP violations especially during the campaigning of the election. I think the locals are very much familiar with this situation. And the other one is, the main concern is when people are traveling and the eagerness to hold the state election. There was also a situation where double standards were happening, especially by the authority when it comes to imposing the penalty for those who flout the rules and regulation during that period. All right, so moving on, a little bit situation on the literature review. So the background study we have here, 3 papers, Peace 2019, Mutua Ongonga 2020, as well as Fernandez 2020. So these 3 papers, they're all using the reporting of various news media during global pandemic. But for the first one here, you see Peace 2019, the pandemic was way back in Hong Kong where we had the SARS outbreak. It was slightly smaller than what we had for COVID. So Mutua and Fernandez, these two studies were done during the COVID-19 pandemic. So these studies focused on how news media projected the situation, the pandemic situation during pandemic. So with these studies, I could find some gaps here. So for this study, for mine, I gave a little bit more focused on the positive and negative keywords in reporting of Sabah election via corpus linguistic methods. Okay, so what I want to stress on is positive and negative keywords are that it has got nothing to do with positive or negative connotation. This is more of positive keywords mean that words that are used significantly more in comparison to the target, to the reference corpus. So the target corpus will have more, will use more of certain words in reference to in comparison to the reference corpus. So it will have nothing on the negative or positive connotations of any words. So we will utilize, I utilize the corpus linguistic methods, and then I limit the scope of news articles just on the Sabah election day. That would be a one-day news reports on September 26th, 2020. Again, like the previous one, I used also two news outlets, that would be the Star and Malaysia Kini. Reason being, I just simply want to compare how different is their reporting style. One from conventional news media, and the other one is from the alternative news media. So Malaysia Kini comes from the alternative media, the Star comes from the conventional. So from this point onward, if you see TS and MK, that would be referred to the news, the Star, as well as the MK is for Malaysia Kini. All right, next one we have is the for the next slide, we have COVID-19 corpus studies. So why these studies are, why I put these studies here is because obviously I use a corpus linguistic method, but and then these studies are related to COVID-19. So what I have is that Sabah election was held really in midst of COVID-19 pandemic. So yeah, COVID-19 corpus studies is also somehow relevant. So these four papers, if you see on the left, we have corpus-driven approach that's done by Muhammad Noor and Zulkifli in 2020, as well as Johari and Turiman 2020. So to counter this different approach, you et al. As well as Villanueva, they used corpus-based approach. So all of these researchers, they all utilize news reports. It's just that the focus is more of the pandemic. So I would like to highlight on the different approach used by these researchers. So corpus-driven, basically we utilize, they utilize the bottom-up approach. So it is that some idea that they do not start the corpus study with a preconceived idea or notion of anything, meaning they will use the data in an unbiased manner and in their neutral form. Hence, they will start from there and see what can we get from there. And then corpus-based, for corpus-based approach, obviously this one is a top-down approach of the data, mainly used to somehow validate or maybe refute or exemplify any theory that the researchers decided to use. Okay, moving on to the methodology. You can see here I have three different steps here. So first of all, obviously the collection of data, I started the collection of news reports from both news outlets with the limitation of certain dates and certain events. So collection of news on Sabah election day, published on Sabah election day, September 26, 2020, from both the Star and Malaysia Kini. Therefore, and then search terms that I used in collecting all these reports, excuse me, are the Sabah election, another one was Sabah poll, COVID-19, and Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah. Reason being is that simply because some news reports, they combine the reporting of the election, and at the same time they put in a little bit information of COVID-19. So hence I decided to just use all these keywords, search them in order for me to get to optimize my data to get more. And then at the end, how much of the articles that I get? The Star, total of 7 articles using all these search terms. And then in comparison for Malaysia Kini, I have 10 news reports. So from those news reports that I have gathered, I used IceWeb software to clean the data and then convert those reports to TXT files. For stage 2, I have this is where I go through with the data extraction. I use the Wordsmith tool 8.0. So from there, I come up with a separate word list for the Star as well as Malaysia Kini. So out of 7 articles from the Star, we have about 2,228 tokens, what we call it running words. And for Malaysia Kini, we have from 10 articles, it is close to about 12,000 running words. So once I have all that, so I run the keywords list via the software. And moving on to stage 3, that is where I started to analyze and compare the keywords that we have from both sources. So keywords from the Star are compared against Malaysia Kini. Reason being, number 1 is because Malaysia Kini has more tokens compared to the Star. Hence, the Star is used as the target corpus and MK is used as the reference corpus. So mainly, I want to know or determine how these 2 news outlets, these 2 new news agencies, how are they different when it comes to reporting, when it comes to their reporting style of this particular event. At the same time, there were also in the background story of the COVID-19 and the spread around the country. So for that, I use the concordance list. I use concordance to examine the keyword that are used in context. So next is what we have, the results of the positive and negative keywords. Okay. And then we have here about 32 words that came up. So what you can see in black is the positive keywords, and while what is in red are the negative keywords that came up after we run the data. So what I want to highlight of these from this is that if we look at if you look at line number one, the word said, we have the frequency of this word is at 46 in comparison to RC frequency at 28. So when you look at the comparison of the percentage, it is very much significant at 2.06 to compared to 0.24. So this shows that the STAR reporting used more of this word compared to MK. And then if we look at number 2, the word cases here, it falls under positive keywords, even though if you look at the frequency number, it's the same, 30 and 30. So reason being this is positive in the STAR news reports is simply because one is the STAR has a small tokens compared to MK, hence it will definitely affect the percentage. So percentage for cases for the STAR is 1.35, meanwhile for MK is only a quarter at 0.25. So yeah, that's very much significant. So even though they fall under the same frequency, but the percentage are very much different. All right. On the other hand, for negative keywords, which are highlighted in red, I would like to highlight on the lemma vote. So we have 4 here: voters, vote, line number 21, voter, voting, line 30, 31 over there. So it is obvious that these words are in line with the event that's happening on that day, which is the election. So if you can see here, these words are significantly higher in Malaysia Kini News report. So this also shows the difference in terms of the style of reporting that I can say for MK, the reporting focused more on the people and what they have to do. Hence, voters are the people. So voters will go to vote and they will be voting, so on and so forth. So compare it to the star, it is very much low, especially in terms of the frequency. So the perspective of the reporting is definitely different from these two news outlets. And then we move on to the word is, that is in line number 21. Okay, the B verb is how do we say, the B verb is the negative keywords for the star, but positive for MK. So this is to show that when it comes to reporting, there is a form of certainty coming, come out from Malaysia Kini news reports. So they don't use modality that much because it doesn't appear here. So they use certainty when it comes to reporting issues that they are reporting. Hence, it puts more, it gives more power when it comes to reading. So, and obviously it will definitely impact the readers also. All right, moving on, we have here, I will show you one keyword in context. So I chose the word said because it's very much significant. We can all see the difference here. The keyword in context for the word said, what you have on the screen is for the Star News reports. Actually, we have 46 lines, but I can't put all in one screen. So we have until 42. What I want you to pay attention to is that those highlighted in blue and those highlighted in peach. So we see that the peach highlights are more than the blue highlights. So what we can see here, when they use the word said in their news reports, it all referred to I would say political figures or personnel that are very much directly related to the election. What we have, for example, we have Ahmad Zahid, a very prominent figure, Ashraf Wajdi, and then if you look at line number 6, we have there the EC, Election Commission Chairman, Dato Abdul Ghani Saleh. So this is, he may not be a politician, but he's also one of the big person they refer to because it's a big election. It's a state election for them. So other than that, we also have said referring to a body of authority like the chief police. I can't remember which line that is. So these are all a quote that they use to say that, okay, this person said, this person said. So concordance list highlight that. And then for the blue ones, we have reports on COVID-19 that use the word said, but mainly referred to Dr. Hisham, or sometimes referred to as Director General. So two different types of reporting here. Very little reports on that day referring to the situation, i.e. the pandemic, but more focus given on the election and the happenings around the election. All right, moving on to the next one, we have the same word said, but used in Malaysia Kini News report. So it is very less. We have here until 28 lines. So again, the same, but what you can see here, the difference between the colors. So we have more blue compared to peach. So for MK, you can see, we all can say that their focus of reporting, even though on a special day of the state election, which is a big thing considering, they still put focus on the COVID-19 reporting. So very much related to the, well, the first line senior minister, that was then our current prime minister, Dr. Ismail Sabri, and then most of the time it's referred to Dr. Nur Hisham. So out of 28, only little refer to political figures or people related directly to election. The rest are more to the COVID-19 news reports. Yeah, basically that would be it. For the conclusion, obviously we can see the different style of reporting for these two news agencies. So the nature of the news agencies, i.e. they come from the conventional stream or they come from the alternative media category, they all have a different objective. They all have different, obvious different way of reporting and who they are targeting to. Okay, so also we also have to understand that when it comes to conventional versus alternative news media, they also have their own alignment. So some news agencies or medias are aligned to governmental body or political say political parties or something like that. Well, alternative is more of independent. They are more independent, so they don't necessarily have to, you know, portray a nice situation or a nice story for certain parties or certain organization. So again, their alignments will definitely determine how news is being reported or what narratives are being created to the public. So this falls heavily, again, I would say falls heavily on the readers. We all have to know who are the readers. They obviously know who we are, but who are we? What are we reading for? Who are we reading from? So what do we want to know? So again, that would also determine the preference of the news. And then Alex has mentioned before, some news, like in this case, because I focus more on the election, Alex mentioned again, during the pandemic reporting, there were also some issues on biasness to certain cultures and certain people, group of people. So that again depends on how news are reporting those situations, hence determine the narrative again and will affect the readers. So yeah, it's a short one. Again, for that, yeah, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mimi. Shima,
Shima.
is it? Shima. Okay, Mimi, Shima. Okay.
Another one.
All right, and that was interesting. Yes, we do remember that time when the election was on and COVID was still around. Any questions from the audience, please? And anything that you want clarification on in terms of data or methods? You can type in the chat box or just ask straight away.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm Colleen. So just now I heard that you have positive and negative keywords. May I know how do you categorize that?
Oh, well, basically, we just run it via the software. So technically, I'm still quite new with the software. So this is among my first time using it. So that's why we use such a small data. So we run it via Wordsmith, and then from there, I started creating the word list. So once we get that, so we see what are the words that are common for both newspapers separately, then we move on to check on the keywords list. So once we get separate keywords list for the Star and Malaysia Kini, that's when we made the comparison, like compared two keywords lists. So I moved from there.
Right, that's right. Let's not be confused with Alex's presentation, and this one is totally different. Thank you for telling us that in the first instance, yeah, Shima, the positive and negative keywords are, as Dr. Aisha mentioned, if you compare keywords from two different corporate, the software, whether it's Wordsmith or Nconc, will generate comparison list, and with the positive or negative indications is indicated by the symbol positive and negative in the software itself, in the display of the results. So when it's positive, that's where we know it's overly used in the first corpus compared to the second corpus, right? So it's automatically done. Unlike Alex's, which is qualitatively determined. Anyone else with intriguing question or something to ask?
I have a question, Miss Shima.
Yeah.
Actually, come to think of it, I have two questions lah. So for the statistical part, do you have any considerations of doing a log likelihood score commentary, since you're using a main corpus and a reference corpus?
Well, with my supervisor, we are talking about that, but we haven't gone through that stage because I am relatively quite new with this. So this is technically like among my first runs. So it's to see how the software is run and what we can get from there. Then we move slowly from there. So yeah, I apologize for not able to give the statistical interpretation of the data that I have for now.
So my second question, actually for your preliminary findings, the verb to be for Malaysia Kini, I'm actually curious what kind of statements or sentence constructions would they be so like heavily using the verb to be is in their reporting compared to the star, because from a general, I think, assumption, if you're doing reporting, it's more to like statements of facts, correct?
Yes.
So I'm actually curious, like, why is there such a big discrepancy from what you have presented? Like, do you have any insights or observations to share on that? I find that rather intriguing.
Okay, from what I can see, because we have limited number of articles, so when we look at when I look at the Star and Malaysia Kini, because some of them they are news reports, but they put in full what do you call it, in full quote that somebody is saying something. So this is something and something. So it's like, I don't want to say a live update, though it's like an article form, something like that. So they have a not a fully reported news on the event that's happening, something like that. Did you have anybody talking?
Right.
Okay.
Is that all right, Alex?
Yeah,
Probably,
okay. Yeah, I think
mhm.
because in that case, I think, well, this is just a suggestion.
Okay.
Maybe you could highlight this as another aspect of the differences in reporting approaches, like utilizing like direct quotes from people instead of, you know, paraphrasing and etc.
Okay.
Like, just a suggestion.
Thank you so much for that.
All right, thank you, Alex. And others, do you have any questions for Shima? Or why her interest is in news? Why is news an interesting corpus to meddle with? Yeah,
Yes.
apart from others, yeah. What about forums? Yeah, forums. It would be nice to see how Sabah was it?
Sabah, yeah.
Thought about
well, I got interested in the event actually of the election. So I find it very, I was curious why they were so adamant to hold it, to organize, to have the state election. This is not a by-election like we had prior to Sabah. By-election is just a constituency, so it's a smaller scale. This one is a statewide. Hence, when I was reading it, the response from the public were not very, we were not in agreement with it. But again, yes, with the constitutional law that it has to be held in certain period of time and whatnot. So again, I think the government ruling at that time also had a difficult decision to make. So when news are reporting about this, do they like which side? Like how do they have to present it? Hence the difference of conventional and alternative media outlets. So this one I only look at the Star. I don't look at other conventional media like the NST or something else, and I don't compare MK to maybe FMT or others. So from these two also I can definitely see that I don't want to say the word biasness, but the leaning of the report towards what they report and how they report things. So generally speaking, without any research evidence, the Star, when it comes to reporting for the Sabah election prior to Sabah election day, definitely the narrative of like this is a must thing, and put in the belief that people can follow SOP and whatnot. So those are meaning they are in line with the government decision to hold the election. Meanwhile, for MK, they are more of putting up the concern, like people are moving, some people are losing jobs. How are they going to go back? And because for those who are not familiar, Sabah is another part of Malaysia that we have to fly over there. So that is also costly. So yeah, there were definitely differences in terms of how they report and what they report.
Okay, thank you, Shima. In a way, you are talking about the slant of the news and possibly a political slant in political news reports, which is always interesting to further in your study. There's a question from Lugao. He is concerned that the data size that you have is not in a way, is it enough? As in how big or how small should your data size be? And please talk about your findings again.
Well, again, I have a larger data collection that is Sabah election related, but me and my supervisor decided to just focus on the election day itself. So yeah, it is understandably very small. However, after consulting with my supervisor, we all agreed to just run with it. So that's why I say it's a small little research. And for the purpose of this
and the
presentation,
finding, the finding, maybe just have a look at the finding again, the results.
findings. You mean the positive, negative keywords?
Yeah. Would you
Okay,
like to share screen again on the findings?
I would like to get Dr. Aisha to help me with that though.
Oh, I see. Dr. Aisha, calling Dr. Aisha. Shima wants to share screen again.
I'm not sure.
Or maybe you would you just like to verbally mention your,
okay,
your
I would
overall.
briefly mention because for the purpose of this presentation and for the purpose of this small research, we only run this small data that once we get two different keywords from both news, the Star and Malaysia Kini, hence when it is compared against each other, hence we get the positive and negative. So before we get the positive and negative keywords, we must first go through to find the keywords from both first. So And then because MK has a larger tokens, so MK is used as a reference corpus instead of the star. The star is used as the target corpus because the tokens are relatively small. So yeah, I'm not sure if number of articles are the main focus here. I think it's more of the number of tokens that what I decided with my supervisor.
Okay, thank you very much, Shima. On that last note, I do agree. You might want to revisit the corpus size.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Thank you
it
so
has
much.
to be a large one in order to be a legitimately called corpus analysis. And thank you so much. We would like to, and with that, we would like to thank Shima for her sharing. Yeah, she is an ongoing research student, so we wish her all the best.
Thank you.
And also with Alex too. I'm not sure who has submitted yet their PhD, but all the best and thank you for the sharing session. It has been interesting. And next is a promotion for all of us here. The symposium, 2022 Malaysian Corpus Research Symposium. I would like to welcome Anis to say something about it.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you, Dr. Rafida. Just a quick one. I'm actually outside, if you can see. All right, I'm Anis from the Center for Research in Language and Linguistics, UiTM. As you can see, Dr. Aisha is sharing Malaysian Corpus Research Symposium's website there. On behalf of UiTM's MCRS 2022 Organizing Committee, I'd like to invite all of you to participate in the Malaysian Corpus Research Symposium, which is to be held in Bangi Resort Hotel, Bangi, on 28th and 29th of September 2022. The symposium is held in collaboration with Gales Engage Singapore, and also we also have Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka to support us, together with Malaysian Corpus Research Network. Okay, this is the poster. We have Associate Professor Dr. Michael Balu from the University of Queensland as the keynote speaker. He'll be presenting virtually. We also have Asian plenary speakers in line to talk about corpus research across Asian, from Indonesia, yes, from Thailand, and we also have our very own Dr. Aisha Johari from MCRN. We'll also be presenting in a variety of language used in Malaysian English corpus. Okay, there's also a dialogue with Dewan Bahasa and Pustaka as well. And we'll be updating the list of presentations as soon as possible on the website. Or you can also browse the website now for more information. I'll share the link to the website in the generic group, the MCRN group later. Okay, if you're interested, you can register. You can click register there at the website. If you're interested to participate, the fees would be 300 ringgit for physical participant, 150 ringgit for online participants. I think that's all. Looking forward to meeting you guys there in Bangi. I think it will be a good opportunity for all of us to finally see each other for the very first time. Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add, Dr. Aisha, maybe? On the MCRN?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Anis.
All right. Okay. So looking forward to meeting you. Thank you, MCRN, for allowing me to speak. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anis. Brilliant. So let's join this symposium and participate together in sharing your corpus projects and research. Yeah. Okay. So I think we can actually wrap it up for today's session. Thank you so much for attending today, and keep up with us in future webinars. Right, there'll always be one in each month. Okay, and this has been the 19th webinar held by MCRN. Okay, anyone else? No? Okay, so I think we'll see you next time. Yeah, and there's always the expression of interest speaker form to be filled. Any one of you can do this and when you have a study to share. Okay, thank you and have a nice weekend. All right, and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.